Nobody walks into a Cleveland Browns draft party and takes over the whole building. Nobody. Except Shedeur Sanders just did exactly that, and the crazy part? He wasn't even trying. Draft parties are supposed to feel like a collective moment. Multiple picks, multiple names, a whole fan base buzzing over what the future could look like. That's how it's supposed to go. But the second Shedeur walked through that door, every single one of those storylines evaporated. Not slowly, not gradually, instantly, like somebody hit a switch on the entire room. 1 second it's a draft party. The next second it's a Shedeur Sanders moment, and everyone else is just standing in it. And here's what made it genuinely different from any other player entrance you've ever seen. He wasn't performing. He wasn't soaking it up with a big smile and a wave, milking the attention for the cameras. He walked in calm, composed, completely at ease with a wall of energy slamming into him from every direction at once. No panic, no awkward body language, no rush to get past it. Just unhurried, unbothered control. And I'll tell you something, that kind of composure in that kind of chaos is not something you can rehearse. You either carry it naturally or you don't. Shedeur carries it like it weighs nothing. The crowd didn't stay polite for long either. The moment fans realized he was actually stopping, actually engaging, actually looking people in the eye, it turned into something close to madness. His name coming from 5 directions simultaneously. Jerseys raised overhead. Pens and phones thrust forward. People genuinely squeezing through gaps in the crowd just to get within arm's reach of him. And that number 2 jersey? That thing became the most wanted object in the building. People chasing him through the crowd, holding it up like a flag, practically pleading for a glance. And Shedeur stayed right there, in the middle of all of it, signing, nodding, acknowledging people one by one, like the storm around him simply wasn't his problem. The cameras, the ones that were supposed to be covering the draft, they drifted away from the setup almost entirely. Even the Browns front office people in that room had a look on their faces. Not surprise exactly. More like quiet recognition. Like they were watching something unfold that they already suspected was coming, but still weren't fully prepared to see in real time. And even the doubters in that room went quiet. Not convinced, just quiet. Which, if you understand how loud doubt usually is, tells you everything. Then the picks started coming in, and suddenly the draft party had a whole different layer to it. Cleveland steps to the clock at number 9 and takes Spencer Fano. Offensive tackle. 6'6", 311, out of Washington. And before you write that off as a safe, boring selection, stop. This man is not a statue in the trenches. He moves. Light feet, elite balance, the kind of lateral agility that makes pass rushers look slow. In college, analysts were practically losing their composure over his film. 0 sacks allowed across hundreds of pass-blocking reps, 0. And he can flip between left and right tackle without missing a beat. That is not a project. That is a franchise cornerstone being dropped into place right now. Not in 2 years. Not eventually. Now. And then pick 24 happens, and the picture gets even clearer. Casey Concepcion out of Texas A&M, wide receiver. 61 catches, 919 yards, 9 touchdowns. But the raw numbers don't tell the full story. What matters is how he earned them. He wins contested catches. He breaks coverage. He finds the ball in tight windows and turns those moments into big plays. Fans didn't even wait for the analysts to catch up. The reaction was immediate. This pairing with Shedeur is going to be something real. And honestly, the logic writes itself. You have a quarterback who thrives under pressure and reads tight coverage better than almost anyone coming out of college football. You pair him with a receiver specifically built to destroy exactly that kind of coverage. At some point it stops being coincidence and starts looking like deliberate construction. Now here's the part of this story that I think deserves its own moment. Because when you zoom out and look at the full arc of what's happened to Shedeur Sanders over the past year, it's genuinely remarkable. Not long ago, this man was being dragged from every corner of the media landscape. Questions about his game. Cheap shots at his attitude. Voices lining up to tell anyone who would listen that he didn't belong at the next level. And then draft night came, and instead of going where most people expected, he fell. All the way to the 5th round. That's not a quiet slide. That's the kind of fall that shatters confidence, poisons narratives, and breaks players who aren't built the right way mentally. He lands in Cleveland, not to a red carpet, but to a crowded quarterback room and limited reps. Dillon Gabriel getting more looks, more attention, more runway. Shedeur being asked essentially to wait, to prove himself through whatever small windows happened to open up. And here's what he did. Nothing dramatic, nothing loud. He stayed locked in. He kept training. He built chemistry with his teammates, quietly, while everything around him was designed to rattle him. That kind of mental discipline is genuinely rare. Most people fold under one layer of that pressure. He absorbed all of it, the draft slide, the depth chart, the media noise, the skepticism, and he kept going without flinching. Now look at where things stand. Gabriel, the guy being positioned as the practical, safer option, has gone almost completely silent this offseason. No buzz, no visible grind, just absence. Meanwhile, Shedeur has done the exact opposite. Training, building, sharpening, taking up more space in the conversation every single week without making a single dramatic statement. That contrast is brutal for anyone who spent months pushing the other narrative. One guy disappears when the pressure gets real. The other doubles down and takes over the room without even having to ask for it. And those media voices, the ones who stacked doubt on top of doubt and called it analysis, they're stuck now. Their predictions aren't holding. The story didn't go the way they wrote it, and you can feel the quiet discomfort in how the conversation has started to shift around them. Even the surrounding noise, the Jerry-Judy situation, the Kevin Stefanski questions, all of it feels like background static now compared to the main signal. The Browns drafted a fortress to protect Shedeur. They drafted a route-running weapon for him to throw, too. The infrastructure is being built around one name, brick by brick, pick by pick. So here's where we actually are right now. A player who was doubted, dropped, buried in a depth chart, and written off by half the league is now being talked about as the offensive centerpiece of a franchise's future. The same draft party that was supposed to be a celebration of many names ended up being defined by one presence. And the building didn't decide that. The crowd didn't manufacture that moment. It just happened the way real things have a way of happening when you stop forcing them. Was the room overreacting to a guy who hasn't taken an NFL snap yet? Maybe. Or maybe Shedeur Sanders walked into that building and reminded everyone, fans, front office, doubters, all of them, exactly who he is and exactly where this is heading. That's the question worth sitting with. Drop your take in the comments below, because I genuinely want to know where you stand on this. And if you're not already part of the family, subscribe to Browns Breakout, because when this story really breaks open, you're going to want to be here for it.